Another important topic, as I told in the very beginning, that we are going to take very important topics from the polity section. So second important topic that we are going to take today is Interstate Council. Now why this was in news? Because the Interstate Council has been reconstituted, and this is very important because there is always every year at least one question in prelims, one question in mains on federalism, because federalism is the cornerstone of the Constitution of India. Although the Constitution of India or the system of governance in India is not completely federal, okay, as KC Weir has noted that the Constitution of India is quasi-federal. It is not completely federal. It is quasi-federal. Quasi-federal means federal with unitary bias. Okay, it is not completely federal in nature. A federal or quasi-federal में क्या difference है? Federal means the constituent units of the country, of the nation, like state, all the states and the union itself. They are independent bodies in the one sense that they have independent lawmaking powers and one is not subjugated by the other. ठीक है? Like the system of governance in United States of America. It is a federation of the states of America. ठीक है? Like the states came together and they formed a union. They formed a union of United States of America, basically states of America, and that is how United States of America was formed. But in India, it was not that way. इंडिया और यूएस में जो मेन डिफरेंस है कि यूएस में स्टेट्स केम टुगेदर, ओके, इन पेंसिल्वेनिया just before the declaration of independence, the signing of the Declaration of Independence, USA, and they formed a coalition against the British, okay, and they formed their constitution at that point in time that we will be a federation of states, okay, and these states have come together to make a federation. On the other hand, in India, the states did not come together to make a federation. The constitution, in India, the constitution made a union of India of all the states, and that is why it is very important to remember that the Union of India is an indestructible union of destructible states. The Union of India is an indestructible union of destructible states. That means the boundaries of the states itself can be completely destroyed, okay, but the union cannot be destroyed. This is the very foundational, the foundation of the Constitution of Indian federalism. Whereas in USA, every state has its own Supreme Court even, okay. There are circuit courts, courts of appeal and Supreme Court also, okay. But in India there is only one Supreme Court, and it adjudicates both states and central, it adjudicates upon the laws made by both states and the center. Whereas the federal Supreme Court will only adjudicate on those laws that are under the federal constitution, okay. A state may have certain law, and if that law is not in the federal constitution, that the Supreme Court of USA cannot give a verdict on that, right? Every state has its own Supreme Court, every state has an elected governor also, but in India we do not elect our governors. The governors are nominated by the president, okay. So that is the basic difference, and that is why the federalism in India is like emergency powers. Very importantly, one of the most important point that we understand about the federalism in India is the emergency powers, because the Union of India, the union government in India has these emergency powers under which the governments of states can be suspended. So that means the central government is having a lot of power over the state government, okay. So now, Interstate Council is a place where the deliberations need to take place on what? On the issues of interstate disputes, the disputes between center and the states, okay. So this is a forum for the states and the center and the states to sort out their differences, okay. So this is why Interstate Council was formed. The Interstate Council has been redrawn, and Shah to lead to head the standing panel, okay. This is the news. Now Interstate Council is always headed by the Prime Minister. Okay, Interstate Council is always headed by the Prime Minister. However, there is a standing committee also. That committee is headed by the Home Minister. Home Minister is Amit Shah. So Amit Shah will be heading the standing committee or standing panel. Okay. Now these are the potentials of the Interstate Council. What kind of disputes the Interstate Council what kind of disputes this Interstate Council can discuss, and how it can become an effective council, like disaster management, public health, economic planning, fiscal federalism. Again, fiscal federalism is very important. Law and order strengthening. Now these areas are the areas of conflict and both cooperation, and that is what the Interstate Council does. The Interstate Council investigates, inquires, and looks into the conflicts and seeks for the ways of cooperation on those conflicts to make our system more harmonious. Okay. So we'll be looking at into what an Interstate Council is. Article 263, Article 280 is related to Finance Commission, Article 263 is related to Interstate Council. These two articles are very important, one should remember them. Now Article 263 says that President can constitute and define the nature and duties of the Interstate Council. That means Interstate Council, first of all, Interstate Council is mentioned in Constitution of India under Article 263. That makes it what? That makes the Interstate Council a constitutional body. Okay. Although it is constituted by the President, still it is not an executive body. ओके यहाँ पे इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट जो रिमेंबर करने का है कि व्हाट इज मेनी टाइम्स स्टूडेंट्स आस्क मी सर व्हाट इज द डिफरेंस बिटवीन एग्जीक्यूटिव बॉडी एंड कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल बॉडी लाइक इंटरस्टेट काउंसिल इट इज कॉन्स्टिट्यूटेड बाय द एग्जीक्यूटिव still it is called a permanent constitutional body. So the conflict arises because most of such bodies which are constituted by the president are executive bodies. Why? Because the constitution of such bodies or such committees is done by the cabinet, and then president orders the constitution of that. So when cabinet does that, so that will become an executive body. When the parliament does it, the constitution of certain specific body, so it will become parliament statutory body. Statutory means a body that has been made by a law. A executive body means a body that has been constituted by executive order. Okay? And now constitutional body like UPSC is a constitutional body. Okay? It has been mentioned in the Constitution of India. Similarly, Article 263 provides for the constitution of an interstate council, and president will define the nature and duties of that interstate council. Whenever he feels that the public purpose or public interest basically, ठीक है, यहाँ पे whenever he feels that a public purpose or public interest will be served. Okay, so very important in the development of fiscal federalism or federalism in India is one of the most important is the State Reorganization Act 1956. The State Reorganization Act 1956. The State Reorganization Act 1956 provides for zonal councils. Okay, zonal councils. These there are 5 zonal councils in India: North, East, West, and Center, and South. Okay, so these zonal councils are headed by the Home Minister, and like Home Minister is the chairman of these councils, but these are headed by what the on rotation basis the chief ministers of that specific zone take one by one. So zonal councils are forums. Now what is the difference between interstate council and a zonal council? Zonal council is for a specific zone like South zone, okay? And zonal councils are those councils जहाँ पे states talk about their own cooperation, okay? And that is the main difference between zonal council and interstate council. Or interstate council, the council जहाँ पे center, because it is headed by the prime minister, okay? And the the interstate council talks about not only the differences between the states, but between the states and the center as well. Okay, and more importantly, zonal council is a statutory body because it was made through States Reorganization Act 1956. whereas interstate council is provided under the constitution itself. Now, under this provides roles and responsibilities for, see, the article talks about roles and responsibilities as well, but it also says that the president can define the nature of the duties of the interstate council. So basically it also says that the president can define the nature of the duties of the interstate council whenever he constitutes, but that should be in line with these provisions. Okay, that should be in line with these provisions. The roles and responsibilities of interstate council are primarily inquiring into. Now, it is very important whenever we are studying polity, something from polity, it is very important that we remember as to what we are studying. Inquiring and advising upon the disputes which may arise between the states. For example, a water dispute arises between two states, okay, or a dispute related to the tax imposition, certain kind of tax imposition between two states, the commerce of two states. Okay. So in that case, the interstate council shall have the right of inquiry and advice. Okay, it can both inquire into and advise. Investigating and discussing subjects in which states or the center and states, first of all, या तो states या center and states are having common concern. Okay, they have the right to investigate and discuss. Interstate council has the right to investigate and discuss such areas of common interest between the states or between the union government and the state. Okay, and making recommendations upon any such subject, and particularly for the better coordination of policy and actions on it. Most importantly, interstate council's decisions are not binding. Okay, it is a forum of sorting out the differences. It is not the forum of challenge, or it is not the forum of adjudication. You don't the decisions of the interstate council do not have the similar kind of binding nature as the Supreme Court has or any high court has. ठीक है? So the difference is, now very important point is inquiring into and advising upon disputes between that may arise between the states. Now one important point to note here is कि Article 131, ठीक है, Article 131, okay, or let me check it which article it is. Okay, that's right. Article 131 provides for the original jurisdiction of Supreme Court. Okay, now let's remove this. Now I am talking about this point, inquiring into and advising upon the disputes which may arise between the states or between the states and the center. ठीक है? So if we talk about this, okay, if we talk about that, the role of interstate council is to inquire into and advise upon the disputes, ठीक है, disputes arising between the states and or states versus center. In such cases, the interstate council has the right to inquire into and advise the center and the state or the conflicting parties and arrive at a decision as to what should be done. But important point is Article 131 of the Constitution of India also provides that the Supreme Court shall have the original jurisdiction. Now what is original jurisdiction? Original jurisdiction. Original jurisdiction means that the parties in conflict can go directly to Supreme Court without going to other courts. ठीक है? तो अगर in case original jurisdiction को समझने के लिए फॉर एग्जाम्पल दिस इज द सिविल कोर्ट, ठीक है, या डिस्ट्रिक्ट कोर्ट, ओके, उसके बाद हाई कोर्ट एंड सुप्रीम कोर्ट. So what happens is, first of all, you file a case in this court, unless of course it is a case of violation of fundamental right and you are seeking remedies under Article 32. Unless this is the case, what needs to be done is कि for example a murder case, ठीक है, तो first of all it goes to the district court or sessions court, and then session court make a decisions on that. Then if the parties are not satisfied with that decision, they appeal that decision in the high court, okay, and high court makes a decision on that. If the parties are still not satisfied and the case qualifies to be challenged in Supreme Court, there are certain limitations as to which cases can be challenged, okay. In that case the parties can again appeal Supreme Court to look into their cases, and this is called appellate jurisdiction of the court. That means Supreme Court has appellate jurisdiction over any provision. Like most of the provisions, Supreme Court has an appellate jurisdiction, unless it is specifically specified in the Constitution of India, like Article 32 and Article 131. Okay, Article 131. Now, Article 131 says that if a person, now let's remove this. Okay. Wow. ठीक है. Now Article 131 says that if there arises a dispute between the center, okay, and state. For example, there is a dispute between a center and a state, or between the states, okay, state 1, state 2. If there is a dispute between these parties or these parties, ठीक है, तो dispute federal nature का dispute हो गया, the dispute is of federal nature. In that case, the parties can directly approach the Supreme Court, okay, without the way of appeal. That means they do not have to go to high court or lower court. They can directly approach Supreme Court for the resolution of the dispute, okay, and that is called original jurisdiction. This is called original jurisdiction. That means the Supreme Court has the right of the parties have the right that their case be heard for the first instance in the Supreme Court itself, and that is called original jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. Matlab they do not have to, the parties do not have to go through the process of district court, high court and then Supreme Court. They can directly approach Supreme Court. तो यहाँ पे एक conflict हो गया. Article 263 also says that the interstate council shall have the right to investigate into and advise upon the cases that involve the conflict between the states, of course the conflict that are federal in nature, and the Supreme Court also has the original jurisdiction. So there exists a conflict. In that case it is important to remember that the interstate council does not have the right to tender a binding judgment upon the parties. It can only offer an advice, and it is not binding in nature. But if the parties go to Supreme Court, then the judgment of the Supreme Court is binding upon both the parties, whatever the judgment comes from Supreme Court. Okay, so that is the major difference between the original jurisdiction in case of federal dispute of like Supreme Court has the original jurisdiction in case of a federal dispute, whereas the interstate council, the advice tendered by the interstate council is not binding in nature. It is only it has only advisory nature. ठीक है? So I hope you understood this. Now Article 131, I already told this. Now Constitution of ISC. So ISC was there in Constitution, but it was not constituted. It was not formed. A council was not formed until the 1990. ठीक है, until the 1990. Sarkaria Commission was formed to look into the federal nature of the Constitution of India. The federal governance को, there were two important commissions that were formed to look into the federal nature. The first one is Sarkaria Commission, the second one is Panchi Commission. Okay, and it is very important that you remember the major recommendations regarding the governor, है ना, and the interstate formation of interstate council in Sarkaria Commission report. And Sarkaria Commission report and Panchi Commission report, I believe everyone should read at least the summary of both reports, not get into very depth of it, but you should get hold of a summary that will help you a lot in the mains, because you will be able to write a lot upon the federal nature of the Indian Constitution and the disputes that are arising. Okay. Here, the Sarkaria Commission the Sarkaria Commission that was formed in 1988, it recommended the formation of a permanent interstate council, and the government at that time accepted that recommendation, and they formed an interstate council headed by Prime Minister, and the chief ministers of all the states will be the members of that interstate council, and the chief ministers of union territories having legislative assemblies will also be the member, and the administrators of those union territories which do not have a legislative assembly will also be the member. Most importantly, 6 governor of states under president rule, of course the state which is under president rule. The main point is including all the states somehow, or all the constituents of country apart from the union somehow, because union is of course headed by the is being represented by the prime minister. Okay, उसके बाद 6 cabinet ministers of the central government including home minister, and home minister here, and the home minister is going to head the standing committee of the interstate council. ठीक है, and the home minister is going to head the standing committee of the interstate council, and these 6 central cabinet ministers will be nominated by prime minister. Okay, I hope you understood. This composition of interstate council is very important. It was formed through the recommendation of Sarkaria Commission. That is also very important. Sarkaria Commission, Panchi Commission, both recommendations on governor, the federal nature, the fiscal federalism, the basic highlights, they are very important. Okay. And this okay, the prime minister has also right to nominate 5 ministers of cabinet rank or minister of state of independent charge. ठीक है, so I hope you understood. That is not important, I already told this. So that was all about interstate council. Okay, now I'm going to write down the major highlights, or what are the points to look for in this lecture on the interstate council. The first one is, okay, the first one is Article 263. Okay, the formation of interstate council. The second one is zonal council under State Reorganization Act 1956 and headed by Home Minister, Union Home Minister. This is important. Okay. The third important point that you need to remember for this lecture is interstate council versus Supreme Court, Article 131, original jurisdiction of Supreme Court over the disputes involving federal nature, over the disputes that are federal in nature. Okay, that are federal in nature, matlab dispute between state or center, state versus state. Okay, fourth important point is interstate council is a permanent constitutional body. It is a permanent constitutional body. Okay, it is not an executive body. Understood? And fifth important point that you need to remember here is what are the members of Interstate Council. Okay, I believe this will be enough for this. Okay.